Oh, oh, I was in party mode. What we doing?
First of all, I saw you put them lights on, and I was like, "What's going on over there?"
Pay me no mind. I'm just excited about our first show. Damn.
Yay!
For real. That Part Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Papa Keith from 1035 The Beat and Just Vote, period. It's an initiative to encourage our youth to get involved with the voting process so we make it all sexy and fun and cool to show them that the cool kids vote too. And my amazing co-host, the one and only Janey Tate from High Low News, South Florida's hyper local news you can catch on the web. If you don't know about High Low, then you just don't know. All right, for real. So
That
listen,
part.
that part. So get with the program. Janey, what's good?
Hey, PK, thank you for that amazing intro. You like do this for a living or something? Because it's giving very much celebration. It's giving very much. I like her.
Well, I do, and we have a lot to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Just the growth of both of us, and then
Yeah.
in our own paths, and then coming together to like meet on this level here with that podcast is definitely deserving of a celebration.
Oh, I feel the same exact way. Like when you asked me to be a part of this, I was like, me with you for real? Like
I
I was really,
mean, the
really, I was
person who
really
got me
honored.
involved in all of this to begin with, yeah.
But like, no, but you're like Papa Keith, like radio veterans, syndicated, do this for real. Like, we all play with this podcast equipment, but you go to a real job and and you talk on the radio for real. Like
Funny
we
enough,
all want to be with you.
but funny enough, this is actually my first podcast, not one I've been on, but first one that I'm actually a part of. I've had opportunities to do it before. It just kind of never worked out. So this is actually my very first podcast. So trust me, this is exciting.
That's cool. And you know what? Like, what's really interesting when I've just been talking about it with other people, they were like, I hope it's not one of those relationship podcasts, men versus women hate thing. I
Enough
said,
of
no,
those.
y'all will be surprised when you see, and I think y'all gonna really, really like it. And so when I've even told people just the premise about it, they were like, yo, we need this in the market. And so even before we get into our guests, I want you to tell people like why you thought, hey, this was the time now to do the That Part podcast.
Well, listen, you've been working with High Low News to inform us about things that are happening in our community politically and with this climate now, with the big election coming up in November, some major elections coming up in August locally. There was no better time than right now to kick this off, and especially like with this initiative that I'm really serious about with Just Vote. Period. It kind of just all came together, and I needed to. On the radio, I can't really go in. You know what I mean? I got to keep it light. I got to talk about more entertainment stuff. I can't really go in on people. I can't really go in on how I feel about certain initiatives and certain politicians and certain things that happen in the community. So this gives me an opportunity to voice those things, so people get to see another side of Papa Keith. You know what I mean? There's the fun, jokey, spin your music on the radio side of Papa Keith, and then there's a serious but yet still funny and entertaining political community driven side of me that I want people to just get a little bit more of to balance it out.
No, and I love that. And we've been talking about this. I was like, people are going to be able to get a chance to see like our, private conversations. We don't
Yeah.
always agree. We share information. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised to see how much you like and care about like politics and government and community. And this is stuff we talk about all the time. Now they're giving a little bit of an insight behind the curtains on like what we discuss. But the thing about it is, and what's going to be really cool about what people can expect is these are conversations that a lot of people are having at the barber shop, at the nail salon, at the
Mhm.
barbecue, going to visit their mama or their grandma. They like, oh, who running for this or who doing that? Are y'all seeing this? And these are conversations that a lot of us have on different levels. These are conversations a lot of us should be having as well. So I think that we're bringing this to the forefront and telling people that, hey, it's like you said, it's fun, it's sexy, it's cool to talk
Yeah.
about what's going on in your community, but it's even more cool to know and be involved. And we're going to be giving people like practical ways of how they can be involved and how they could control their own destiny using, government and policy and stuff like that, and having people break it down. But also too, we gonna be having, like you said, real ass conversations with
Mhm.
people asking the questions that y'all want to know, holding their feet to the fire, making we're not letting nobody off the hot seat over here. First of all, like I
And
said, if you know us, we ain't gonna do that anyway.
exactly. And we Xing out the bullshit because the part of it that I'm excited about is like I'm not talking to you about sexy red. Like, listen, I'm talking about things that are gonna really matter in people's lives. And that's why I said the separation. On the radio, I can have fun with that stuff, but I want to talk about some real shit, you know what I mean? That's gonna
Mhm.
like move things and make things really happen. Cause I think we have just too many distractions, with these phones and with entertainers and what they got going on in their personal
Mhm.
lives. We're so consumed with that we're not worried about the real things. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing of real substance. So I want to be able to have those conversations with you, Janae, where we can bring things of substance and still make it fun and cool and sexy and then grow from that.
No, definitely. And that's why people need to be watching, liking and subscribing, sharing, telling people to tell a friend. Like y'all need to be tuned in every week at Wednesday at 8 o'clock on any platform where you can consume podcasts, listen or watch podcasts. We're gonna be there. And so y'all in
Well,
for
I
a
want them
fun
to come
ride.
to our YouTube though. I want them to really
Yeah.
come to our YouTube.
Mhm.
Go to our YouTube. As a matter of fact, follow the tag. It's at that part podcast 305. At that part podcast 305. Make sure you catch the show on our YouTube page. We'll really appreciate that a lot. All right, and we do have a special show today because today is a special day, Janae.
It is. It is the celebration of our freedom.
Mhm.
Our freedom. The people that looks like this and not like this. For the funky idea because I definitely stole that from him. But it's Juneteenth, and don't be looking around. You better cabbage patch or something because
Well,
you could have been in chains, my guy.
no, it's always weird for me, like, happy Juneteenth, like, oh, happy that we found out that we weren't slaves anymore, kind of thing. Like, but I get
Oh,
it. No, I'm just saying, it's kind of weird for me. I'm not like into it yet. You know what I mean? I
I
want to
mean,
celebrate Juneteenth, but I don't know. Is it a happy Juneteenth? I don't know.
first of all, First of all, you're crazy. But it's a celebration of our freedom. It's a celebration of the fact that the last group of slaves who were being conned and used for an extra 2 years after the rest of us got our freedom.
Mhm.
It's a celebration that we all were free. So granted, I
Gotcha.
do get your point though. Like I get it. It's like, is this happy? Like, do we want to
Right.
commemorate it? I
It's
do
like
get that
Veterans Day,
mind.
right? Kind of like, like we celebrate our veterans, but a lot of them have died. So happy Veterans Day, you know?
You know what? Maybe the word shouldn't be happy because you're not like a lot of things aren't happy about it. But I do think
Right.
to take time to celebrate, to what is it, commemorate,
Yes.
to recognize, to remember,
That
that
part.
is important. But you're right. I do get where you're saying like saying this is happy is
Happy
kind
another
of
I have another one for you. Happy Memorial Day. You know what I mean? Like
so
everyone's
what
dead. Like a memorial, there's no going around memorial. Everyone's dead. Like happy Memorial Day?
you know what we just gotta because we gotta find another a word for it. But
We do.
I get what you're saying, but in the spirit of celebration and
Yes.
remembering and letting people never forget what we went through and what we overcome and who we are, while we as Black people, chocolatey, beautiful people, get to use our First Amendment right, not have people come and bust our door down and jail us, and we get to do this as free Black people. That means something, and that should be
It does.
celebrated. So
It does.
that's happy to me. So I could
Yes.
give it that.
All right. So on this special day, we wanted to launch our podcast, That Part Podcast, because we thought it would be special, and it is special. So I'm glad we did that. And we do have a special show, but it's going to be a little different. It's not going to be the normal way how we're going to be delivering our show. And in the spirit of honesty and keeping it real, because we do promise that on this show, we did do a test pilot with two amazing gentlemen that have so much to offer us and was a really good way for us to jump off the show. Not only are they two amazing people in their own right, but they also work with us with the Just Vote Period initiative, so we invited them to come on and do the podcast, but you know, I have Blue Stream. I don't even know if you guys know what Blue Stream is, but I have Blue Stream, and I only have Blue Stream because the area that I live in, it comes with the community, right? And so their internet is not the greatest. That's why Janey looks so amazing over there, and I don't look as amazing. You know what I mean? So due to my internet, it kind of messed up that podcast. So I was able to get the audio from it, and we still wanted to deliver that podcast for you guys today.
No, definitely. I mean, just full like we being transparent, my internet was acting real ghetto, she was betraying me too. So generally she's usually clear and crisp. And that night, it's a lot of storms that night. I don't know if it made its way to
Yeah,
where I am in the world, but it just was real
that's
shaky
a
that
good
night.
point.
So,
That's
yeah.
probably could have been what it is because
Hmm.
a lot of these lines now run underground, and
Yeah.
and it was really flooding everywhere. So that could be a good point. But anyway, we have a really good show for you. I don't know if you want to introduce them or you want to set it up for us, Janey.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
All right.
I can take care of that. So we
All
have
right.
an amazing show. We have two dope guests, our brothers in advocacy, especially for voting rights and advocacy and voter education. It's our brother Robert Dempster and Senator Dwight Bullard. We're gonna keep that respect on his name. I don't care. He could be 100 years removed. Senator Dwight
Did
Bullard.
I tell
You
you a
guys,
true story about that?
wait, give it to us.
All right. So I was watching the news and they actually interviewed him. And I'm watching the news and they just had Dwight Bullard. I called him immediately. I'm like, excuse me, I don't know how this stuff works. This was years ago. I'm like, but aren't you still supposed to be considered Senator Dwight Bullard? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, I just saw them do an interview with you on the news and they ain't have Senator on there. I'm going to call him up right now and put some respect on your name. So since he educated me on that, from that point, I've been making sure, like I make sure people put respect on his name. You know what I mean?
Here's the T. Don't we still say President Barack or President Bush?
That's
Even
facts.
Mayor Shirley Gibson, who just passed away, amazing Mayor Shirley Gibson from Miami Gardens, we still call her
Mhm.
Mayor Shirley Gibson. So to me, what like you said, whatever it's kind of like in the military, whatever your last rank was or whatever your
Right,
last
right.
position, you still give that person that because at the end of the day, that's a lot to accomplish. Like
It
to become the
is.
state senator or mayor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think it's cool to still call them that. Like so,
Yeah. And even if you
I'm
want
with
to
it.
say former, that's fine too, but still
Mhm.
say it.
No, I like that. So we gonna always give people their respect and their flowers and their things. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So you ready to
uh
get started?
yeah, let's kick it over to the episode. You guys are in for a treat.
Yes, enjoy. And thank you so much. We're going to come back and talk to y'all after our first podcast. So enjoy. All right, here we are. We got to welcome our very special guest to That Part podcast. I'm going to start with the political hierarchy with Senator Dwight Bullard in the building. My brother, what's good?
Happy to be
So glad to have you.
Happy to be on the show, the inaugural show. Y'all two are dope. So I'm glad that y'all have joined forces like Voltron, and let's do this thing.
That part. And we also want to welcome Mr. Robert Dempster, my brother,
Thank you, sir. I
former
appreciate it.
chair of the Democratic Party for Miami-Dade County, correct?
That is correct. Yes, Dwight Bullard's old job. That's right.
Now running things over at Just Vote Period, I heard.
Something like that. That's what I heard. I want to thank y'all for having me on. It's an honor to be on your first show, and for it to be on Juneteenth is a big deal, and I really appreciate you guys having me on.
That's what's up. Happy Juneteenth to you both. So Janey, kick it away.
Thank you guys for joining us. I think you both are amazing and definitely, Dwight, we've been rocking for a while and Robert has been really good getting to know you the last few months. So really good to have you guys on the show. And what I want to do first for our audience is to let them get to know you and know why we think you guys are so dope. So, Senator, I'll kick it off with you. Can you give just the people out there, even if they're unfamiliar with you, just let them know a little bit about your background, where you're from, and the work that you do in this community.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Got to represent South Dade to the fullest. Grew up in the community of Richmond Heights, down yonder in Miami-Dade County. Come from a political family, but not in the big P sense as much as have just, my mom and dad were always aware of their surroundings, how they could influence, how they could impact it. Both of them were educators. So I just kind of followed the family lineage of both education and politics. So my mom was a first grade teacher. My dad was a high school administrator for most of his career. I jumped into being a high school educator. But having grown up around politics, decided to formalize it. I got caught up in the hype of 2008, well, actually 2007 really, when a guy named Barack Obama announced that he was running for president of the United States. So I decided, hey, let's give it a shot. And my shot actually made it, you know what I mean? So I'm happy to have been able to serve in that capacity, but I view my career as that service. So whether it's the classroom, outside the classroom, advocacy, politics, education, history, it's all a part of a continuum of service for me. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Love it. And Robert, let us know about who you are, where you from, and the work that you do.
Sure, I'm happy to. My story is almost the exact opposite of Dwight's. I'm originally from Kingston, Jamaica. I was born and raised here till I was 14 years old. Moved here at 14. Dwight was down south. I moved up north to North Miami Beach. Graduated from North Miami Senior High. Went to college, in Florida, and came back to North Miami Beach, and I haven't gone anywhere else since. I got to politics, like my journey is very atypical for people in this field. I got to politics very, very, very late in life. Like a lot of the people who I spend a lot of time trying to convince that their vote matters and that they need to be involved, like a lot of those people, I used to think that politics didn't really have a lot to do with me. I used to feel like there's some room with some people, some old grown-up people behind some door, and those people had everything figured out and they knew everything I didn't, and things would always be, I didn't have to worry about that, right? And then 2016 happened, and, there was a presidential election that year. And with the result of that election, I realized that, there are no people behind that door. It's just people like us. And we have to get involved. If we don't, if we're not happy with the way that things are, each of us have to get involved in whatever level our lives and our capacity allows us to do. So, I went to one meeting of a group called the Progressive Caucus in Miami-Dade County. One meeting turned into two turned into three. I, started doing the communications for that group. I joined the Miami-Dade County Democratic Party shortly after that. And I basically held I held almost every leadership position that you could possibly hold in that group. And then, a few years ago, I ran for chair of that organization. I was lucky to be able to follow in Senator Bullard's footsteps. He was the first Black chair of the Miami-Dade County Democratic Party. I was the second. I was very proud to be able to do that for the time that I did. And so far, it's been the work that I've been most proud of in my life. So that's me, and that's my journey, and that's how I got to here.
Janey, what I find so interesting, right? When talking to people, it's always two names that are kind of opposite that really get people to advocacy. I either hear Barack Obama or Trayvon Martin as the two names or the two situations that happened that really helped to shape, people who wanted to get involved. Either they saw Barack and was just blown away, and to see, you know, a black man have that opportunity and rise so quickly, or they were really hit hard by the Trayvon Martin situation and wanted to, you know, do something, you know, just didn't want to stand on the sidelines anymore and wanted to get involved. And, you know, if you just think about it, it's just two completely kind of opposite type situations right there. So that always intrigues me to hear, you know, anytime I hear somebody say Trayvon.
That's a good point. Because I hear that a lot too. Like, it was a catalyst for a lot of people to get into politics. I also hear that Trump, depending on what side you're on, like, he also motivated a lot of people to get into politics too.
Can I be honest?
What?
I'm one of them. Honestly, because I you know, when I became like woke, I'm not scared to use that word, ladies and gentlemen. You'll hear me use it. When I became woke 8 years ago.
Hey, that's our word. Just so we're clear,
right,
like, that's our word.
Right.
I don't care if you it and try to mean something different. That is our word, and that is not a bad word. That is not something we need to run away from or be ashamed of. I will never be. None of us should ever have a problem with being woke. So I'm sorry. I get very passionate.
I love it
in particular.
So like 8 years ago when I first got started, you know, maybe about a few years through when I was really getting deep into it, man, I was talking to Dwight like every other day. I was getting heavy into it. Some of my friends was like, yo, you should get into politics. And I was like, hell no, man, I'm too vicarious. I like women. I'm all over the place with it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, nah, because I had this thing in my head that in order to be a politician, like your home life had to be a certain way and all this, because you always see them taking a picture with the family and everything like this and that. Come to realize, you know, behind the curtain, like they regular people too. They this, they that, they cheat, they this. And then when Trump came, I was like, oh, hey, I can do this. I was like, I absolutely can do this, you know? So believe it or not, to your point, Janey, Trump also played a role.
No, definitely. And that's hilarious. That you're like, oh, he's doing wild shit. I can do some wild shit too.
And just so we know, like, out of 46 presidents, the majority of them were messy. Like, let's be clear.
That part.
The majority of them messy.
That part.
I mean, they own slaves, but we ain't even finna get into that. So I'm like, can we like?
I mean, it is Juneteenth, hey.
Exactly.
Hey. But you know, I want to dive a little deeper, if I may, with you, Senator Dwight Bullard. So you did mention, you know, of course, your family as educators and politicians, and you kind of following suit. You know, most of our parents want us to follow suit, you know, with what they, either the vision that they have for us or with what they're doing. But what was it within you that said, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, although, you know, the legacy of your parents is amazing, you've established your own, and I'm sure you've done things with your own twist. So with that being said, what really was it that allowed you to say, hey, I can do this, but I'm still going to be Dwight?
Well, let me start off by saying my parents didn't want me to follow in education.
Oh, wow.
They were like, they don't make no money, like it's stressful, like all the things that that teachers complain about. But the problem is they were too good of a role model, right? Like I spent too many days like helping them set up their classroom or hanging out in summer school, primarily because they couldn't afford, like, you know, for me to do anything. So my dad was like, I got to go to summer school. You coming with me to summer school, just bring your stuff, right? So, you know, it was like coming up around that really it. But to answer your question, you know, they always talk about, you know, I don't want to attribute the quote wrong, but it basically goes that there are two, pivotal points in your life: when you're born and when you find out why, right? Why, what are you here to do? And I remember like struggling my first year as a teacher. I was like, is this what I'm supposed to do? What is it about this thing that I'm doing that is a driving factor, right? And I kept like service kept bubbling up. Like it wasn't about the actual, performance of being a teacher. It wasn't about the professionalism of being a teacher. It was about the ability to pour into another person that kept me in there. And I actually ended up doing that for 17 years. And so when I decided to run for office, I knew running for office, like my parents had talked about, you should consider blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, I'm good. To your point, PK, I was also for the streets for a good portion of my 20s, right? So I was like, nah, I got too much going on. I got things I want to see. And, Miami, there's a king of diamonds here. There's a diamonds there. There's a place I would rather be, right? And so for me, it was like, so when I talk about the inspiration of Barack Obama, I remember distinctly him basically throwing out the question when he gave his introduction speech, when he launched his campaign, and that is that I can't do it alone. I need other people with me on this journey, right? And I was just like, yo, okay. So I was like, all right, so I could help out with the campaign like everybody else, knocking on doors, getting people registered to vote, which I did. But then I was like, you're right. You do need, like, government doesn't work in a bubble. Politics doesn't work in a bubble. There is not a world where one person, even the president, can make like these sweeping changes. You need people in all these different positions. And so I had grown up basically watching my folks in state government. So I knew both the good, the bad, and the ugly about that. And so I went in with a level of consciousness around how I wanted to show up. I wasn't trying to be them. I wasn't trying to be a carbon copy of how they were. And there were two different styles. My mom was very extrovert. My dad was very introvert, real low key. And then so I'm a mix of the two. And so for me, it was like, I'm a hip hop cat, I'm going in and I'm a single man. How do I want, like, all those things are factors, and I can't not be that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to turn down the Wu-Tang Clan when somebody's coming into my office, because that is what I'm about, right? And so it was so interesting, and I'll kind of wind down. My mom wanted me to be more like polished, more like, you got to walk this way, talk this way. And I was like, nah, I got to do this on my own. And like, one of the things that I would do is take my life and adapt it to my style of politics. So what do I mean by that? I was out here passing out flyers like a club promoter in the club, but for me voting, right? It was just like, yo, I know you're here. You're not necessarily going to be at the church on Sunday that I'm speaking at. If I need you to vote for me and I'm trying to get a particular demographic to show up, I got to meet them where they are. And so it was incorporating that into it, and just full circle, funny enough, it was some of my people at KOD who actually helped distribute flyers for me. Like, shout out to Super Terry T for being that guy.
That part. Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much, man. And listen, we love you just the way you are.
Definitely.
Happy you made that decision. Janey, you mind if I ask Robert the same question?
Yeah.
Robert, what was it? You know, again, you gave us a little history on how you got involved, but what was that moment? I want you to like tap into that specific moment that you were like, wow, okay, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. And then, of course, you got lost in it. But what was that moment like? Can you just talk us through that process of, you know, what you felt like, what you were thinking, and then what you did to really activate?
When you talk about a moment, I have two moments. The first one I remember like really, really, really vividly. It was shortly after Trump won. I know Janey is too young to, you know, remember this. Janey might not even have been around when
I'm
this.
trying to sweeten her up, Robert, please.
But I know Dwight, and I know your old ass will remember Facebook, right? So I remember being on Facebook.
You're trying to shoot his shot on a podcast. This guy.
First of all, I'm 36 years old. I know Facebook.
I remember being on. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like you cursed me out the other day about, you know, how old you think you are, all that. So you know. But no, but I remember very vividly being on Facebook and like some argument over Trump and some friend who I hadn't seen in 10 years, like in his comment section of some post about Trump, like fighting with this guy's uncle or some crazy like that for like 2-3 hours. And I remember looking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday and being like, oh, I feel like I kicked back from the computer. I was like, oh, he's not writing anything back. I won. You know what I'm saying? I won. And I look at the clock and it's like 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. And I realized like really, really vividly, I was like, you really didn't do shit. You just wasted like 4 or 5 hours and you didn't change that man's mind at all. Nobody cares. You took all of this effort. You stress yourself out. You yelling at the computer screen in the dark for 2 hours and you just didn't do anything. Right. So I was like, and I'll never forget that. I tell this story 100 times. And that was what made me realize, like, the hardest part of any political journey, I'm sure Dwight will tell you the same thing. Any kind of activism, any kind of journey, the hardest part, the biggest step is that first step to get off of the couch. And that was what made me realize, I was like, I cannot do this. This is not doing anything. I got to get off the couch. I got to go to one meeting. I got to do something. You know what I'm saying? And that was what got me off the couch onto the first meeting. And that's when I realized, you know, I made the decision, like, I made the conscious decision, like, I am going to try and do something. Even if it is the smallest thing, even if it is the tiniest step, even that tiny step is better than what I just wasted 4 hours doing. So that was what initially got me moving. And when I really realized, and then the other moment that I realized, after being involved in politics for like a year or two, I was encouraged to run for office in the city where I live, right, North Miami Beach. And I was walking around. I can tell you this too. You got to walk, and you got to knock on doors, and you got to meet your constituents. You got to meet the voters, right? And like for me, that was terrifying initially. Not walking up to a stranger's door, knocking on the door. You don't know who's on the other side of it. You don't know what they're going to say to you. You don't know how they're going to respond. Exactly. So, and this was already 2 years into Trump, so shit was already starting to get super crazy. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you really didn't know what was on the other side of some of those doors. But I remember after like a couple of days of it, you start to get, just like anything else, like it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the easier it gets, the stronger you get at it, the better you get at it. And what I started to realize was, if I was elected to this position, right? This woman who is talking to me, this complete stranger who's been my neighbor for like 30 years. Like I lived in North Miami Beach for like 30 years. This woman who lived like 10 blocks from me for 30 years. If I was to get elected to this position, she was telling me, I'll never forget it. She's like, that street light over on that corner, you know, that doesn't work properly. So I can't walk my dog at night safely around here and shit. And I realized like, this is kind of the most impactful politics that you can do is, you know, your local government, the people who have the most impact on your life are not President Biden or Senator Scott or Senator Rubio or any of those people. They have an impact, to be sure. But the people who have the most immediate, closest impact on your life are people who you probably have no idea who they are. It's 6 or 7 people who sit on your city commission, your village council, your town council, whatever it is. And when this lady was talking to me about her street light and not feeling safe to walk her dog, I realized, like, yo, if I was to win this, I could come back here and I could make sure that light gets fixed. And that, I think, really crystallized for me the fact that the way that you can really concretely impact the lives of your neighbors and people that look like you and people who helped raise you and the community that helped raise you. So that's my other moment. You know what I mean?
Super dope, man. Janey?
I wanted you guys to get into why you're working with Just Vote Period and why that was important work for you. Because I feel like it ties all of it together. And Senator Bullard, you know, we could jump it off with you. Just let them know, like, kind of like what your role and your impact is and like why you thought it was important to work with the Just Vote Period initiative.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, PK and I have been rocking for a few years, and I always tell a story talking about, like, you know, canon moments or crystallizing moments. My first interaction with PK was him getting an award from the city of Miami, you know, for his work in Little Haiti at the time. And so I just remember then, like, being like, okay, like, he tells a story about politics, and I was like, this is the stuff, right? Like, doing the policy, doing the get out and vote stuff is like the formal aspect of politics. But where the rubber meets the road is people pouring into community, right? And so fast forward, you know, inviting me on the radio, we're having these kind of conversations about the thing. It was really about just recognizing that, like, the folks that PK is talking to every day during drive time are people that are constantly tuning out kind of formal politics. They're not watching CNN. They're not watching MSNBC. They're not, you know, they're not checking, you know, political blogs and things of that nature. You know, they're just trying to do their job. They're commuting from wherever they got to go. They listen, they're vibing. And so if you can capture the attention of those folks for even a split second, that's powerful. And so that's the kind of power that PK wields. So here we are, right? Just Vote Period is kind of the moment where PK says, all right, I want to make it deliberate. I've built this brand of who I am, you know, as a radio personality, as somebody who's been around these things. And because of that cachet, people are going to gravitate towards this thing. And so it's really kind of like these, you know, this kind of bottlenecking, if you will, of two worlds that shouldn't be separate, but trying to figure out how they come together responsibly is what we've been working on. And that's what Just Vote Period is. And ultimately, that's what High Low News is. So, you know, give flowers, you know, to the brand you've been building too, Janey. The reality is that when you're talking to people, whether it's about, you know, the tea or the messiness, and you add that flavor of politics into that tone or tenor, that's still going to catch people's attention. And so you now being a part of this, that part as a podcast, is really all part of the work we've been all doing. And we didn't know we were on a collision course. And so that's why I'm happy to be a part of the Just Vote Period family.
I love it. So well put. Robert, you gotta come behind that. Good job. Good luck. I'm just playing, but tell us why you thought it was important to be a part of the Just Vote Period initiative, and you know, kind of your role and what you'll play in part of the the voting process?
Well, I was trying to, I don't know if you noticed or not, but when you was starting to ask this question, I was trying to jump in before Dwight. Because I've learned over the years in Miami-Dade, like, you're not really trying to follow Dwight speaking, you know what I'm saying? But that's all good. It actually worked out kind of well because, you know, what Dwight alluded to there is a big part of my answer. You know what I'm saying? I had known, I'm not going to embarrass Keith, but I'm not going to embarrass Papa Keith by saying, like,
I do a great job of embarrassing myself, so have at it.
No, I'm not going to say like how long, you know what I'm saying, we have known each other. You know what I'm saying? Like since it was 99 Jams days, since 99 Jams was back off of 826 and like 47.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had known each other for a long time, way before my journey in politics began, and I imagine and I know way before your journey in politics began. But you know, everybody's journey takes a different path, and eventually I got to, you know, politics. I started to move up the ranks in the county party, in Miami-Dade County Democratic Party. I believe I was a secretary at the time, and I think Amendment 4 was a big amendment that was on the ballot. It was a restoration of rights for felons who had served their time, right? And I remember listening to the radio because your show was dope back then. You know, you listened to it on the drive, and I was like, "Is that Dwight Bullard on with Keith?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" And it really showed me that you're very unique, because what you find in your industry, you know, specifically in your industry, nobody wants to leverage their platform in a space that might turn people off or make their audience, you know, or might, you know, offend a portion of their audience or anything like that. They're really worried about that. You had Dwight on there, and you were talking about things that you did not hear anybody talking about on the radio, on urban radio at the time. You know, not for that age group, not for that demographic. You know what I'm saying? And that made me reach out, you know what I'm saying? That made me reach out to Papa Keith before I was the chair of the party. We took the whole party up to meet you up in Broward there at 103.5. That never went the way that it, you know, we weren't able to build off of that attempt. You know what I'm saying? But a couple of years later, when I became chair and you were launching Just Vote Period, that was something that, you know, I reached out proactively. I think I chased you up to 103.5 again with Mauricio, right? I came in and we were talking there. And, you know, just what you are doing, the way that you have been using your platform in such an impactful way, I just felt like I really had to get involved in any capacity that I was able to. So, you know, we did we were able to do some work together, you know, while I was a chair. And now, you know, I'm able to get more involved, and I'm actually really, really excited about the work that you know, Just Vote Period is doing. It basically is my favorite part of the work that I was doing without all of the bullshit that I had to do to be able to do that work. So I'm very excited to be involved with it.
And we're excited to have you. Janey, could I segue into something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Since we just hot off of that, Robert, I want to talk about your time as chair. And, you know, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, right? So, you were chair and you were doing some really good works, and I was having some conversations with you, and you were giving me some ideas that you had for the, you know, Miami-Dade Democratic Party as the chair and stuff like that. And then that opportunity was taken away from you. And in all fairness, I don't think you've had the chance to really discuss that. You're a very humble guy. Even when I told you that, you know, I asked you to come on this podcast and I gave you a heads up that I might ask you about it, you know, you weren't like, yeah, you know, like you were very humble. But I think this is now an opportunity. You know, it's not about bashing the Democrats or anything like that. But, you know, if we don't talk about these things, you understand what I'm saying? Like, we miss opportunities of holding people accountable and trying to make things better. So I'm not asking you on a gossip tip. I'm not asking you on any negative tip, but I will like to ask you what happened with that situation so that, you know, we can have a better understanding, and it can also be an opportunity for you to be able to kind of explain yourself for all those who may walk away thinking maybe you were incapable, or, you know, that you did something while that opportunity was taken from you. I happen to know a little bit better, so I want you to have that opportunity to talk about it.
Well, I appreciate that. I said earlier that work, you know, leading that party, leading the Miami-Dade Democratic Party, is the thing I've been most proud of, you know, professionally in my entire life. The first time I did something, you know, like fully, that I was proud of everything that we did, you know, in that party. When I got that party, we had just come out of the election where Daniela Levine Cava was elected mayor, where we were able to elect the first woman mayor in the history of Miami-Dade County and the first Democrat in over 20 years.
What year was that? That was 2020, right?
I think that was 2020. My predecessor stepped down in 21 before his term was up, and I ran and won by like 60% against, you know, the nearest opponent. When I got the party, we had no permit, we had no staff. I think we had some fairly significant debts that we owed, you know, because we had run like a very expensive campaign, and, you know, sometimes you got to catch up with that stuff. And I think we had something like 150 or 160 members. When I left the party, or when I was removed from that position, the chairmanship, we had almost 300 members. So we had grown it by almost double the membership. And, you know, we were the only county party in the state of Florida that had a full-time paid staffer. I know you had worked with him, Keith, Alex, you know, Alex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had just done a lot of really good work. We had won a special election that we weren't supposed to win in February. We were really on the right track. With regards to why I'm no longer there, I'm sure the one thing I would like to make super duper clear is, you know, I was elected by the Democrats in Miami-Dade County, right? And I was not removed by the Democrats in Miami-Dade County. The people who elected me were still very much behind me, and they were still very much bought into my leadership and believed in me.
So who was responsible for removing you?
Well, that would be the Florida Democratic Party. Their chair, Nikki Fried, was the person who initiated the proceedings to go ahead and remove me.
What was the reason that she gave you to do something?
If I went into Dwight can vouch for this. If I was to go into the reasons for that, it would bore the entire audience to tears. It was some real like technical bullshit that wasn't actually true. Like, oh, this bylaw and that bylaw that nobody ever cared about. And even substantively, the things that they were alleging were actually not true, and they were wrong. You know what I'm saying? And
you weren't stealing, you weren't doing anything like reckless or anything like that.
No, not at all. Not even remotely. Not even close. And there's never been, you know, when I won the chairmanship, the person I beat and the people who I did not support when they were running for things in the party, they continued to feel some type of way about that. And really, they made a lot of accusations over the last 2 years. You can Google Robert Dempster and read all of the nonsense. Nothing has ever come out of it. There's never been nothing like ever has come out of it. And they made some really, really reckless like allegations. They're calling me a criminal and all type of crazy shit. And nothing has ever come out of it. But what I would say is, and again, I understand your question, but I just want to say that the Democrats in the Miami-Dade County Democratic Party are some of the hardest working people I have ever worked with. And it's not like when Dwight was chair, when Democrats were really, we were running shit down here. You know what I'm saying? Like these are people who are showing up in today's Florida. It is not fun to be a Democrat in like today's Florida. You know what I'm saying? In today's Miami-Dade County. These are people who are really doing the Lord's work in like a really, really tough environment. And all of those, and what's important to me is that all of those people, like 85% of those people were still fully behind me and believed in my leadership, to the point where, you know, it's sad to say, but a significant number, like the leadership team, resigned when I was removed. You know what I'm saying? Because they just, yeah, real talk. I'm sure the chair will give you some story, or she'll have her reasons, and you know, I know what the truth is. All I will say is, like, I'm really proud of the work that I did when I had that position. And as Dwight, I'm sure Dwight will tell you this too, like, none of us, you got to go into these things like knowing that none of us owns these seats. You're just kind of blessed to rent them for the time that you have them. And the way I gauge success is what was the impact that you were able to have when you had that position. How did you use your platform? How did you try and expand your reach? How did you try and bring more people in? And to be honest with you, like, the relationship that you and I have and what's going on with Just Vote Period, and the way that, you know, we're able to work together, that to me is that's like a sign of like a successful term. You know what I'm saying? Because reaching into the communities that you have access to, and reaching out to the people who you are trying to reach, is really the best. I mean, to me, that's like the highest and best like purpose that you can get out of a position like that.
Listen, you're being mad graceful, and I respect it, and I know that's who you are. You know, so I ain't gonna push you, but you know, like,
I mean,
I'm sure you wanted to choke a bitch out or something, man. Like, I'm sure,
I mean,
you put so much into that, man. And I'm listening to you, and I'm like, I want to choke a bitch out for you. I don't know who that bitch is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel it, you know.
But can I say?
Oh, you could go to Dwight, because I have something to say.
Oh yeah, no, get it off your chest, Jeanette. Go ahead.
I mean, I wanted to know, like, you said the really, really nice way. Well, I'll ask this. So when you were removed, who replaced you?
There was a special election, and Chevron Jones, who we all know, very good guy. Chevron Jones is a person who stepped in for me.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I'll be a partial anger translator for my good friend Robert. This is the part of politics that people don't like, right? And this is also the criticism of Democrats writ large, like Florida, outside of Florida or whatever, is that in moments like that, like, rather than like recognize the need to get behind, coalesce, that we got other work to do, we spent months, right? And I say this as a registered Democrat in Miami-Dade. We spent months dealing with this issue that left a lingering stain, a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And then people are now, you know, going to try and act like everything's cool. And that's just not human nature. That's not human. So to your point around wanting to choke a mug out, right? It's like, yeah, like, people still got that energy and are going to be like, nah, I don't trust the words coming out of that person's mouth, because I know what you did, I know how you did it, and I know who you did it to. And that is one of the biggest frustrations, even going back to the work that I did, is that, like, you know, as the community says, stop playing in my face, right? Like, and too often times, politicians, party officials, playing people's face, and then try to pivot and be like, well, nah, you ain't just see what you just saw. It's like, no, I literally, like, you said that. And it's like, and we bring like the Donald Trump of the world into it. And by no means, Donald Trump is trash. Let me say that outright for a number of reasons. But he's honest trash, if that makes sense, right? Like, he's not hiding the fact that he is garbage. He says garbage things. He does garbage things. He hangs out with garbage people. So when you turn around and be like, hey, Donald Trump, you know you're garbage. He's like, yeah, that's who I am. And the problem is people who do garbage things and then try to act like, throw the rock and hide your hand. This is why people get turned off. Right now, and I'll just say this as a matter of fact, right? The largest party in the state of Florida registered are MPAs, non-party affiliated. Like neither the Republicans nor the Democrats have a majority of the registered voters in the state anymore because people are over it for the most part. And so again, this ties back into Jezebel period, because these are the people that we need to holler at, like to understand. And we can talk a little bit more about like why your vote is important regardless of party. But that is what Jezebel period aims to do, is talk to people and not play in their face. And that's why I think Robert and I are both happy to be a part of something like this.
Really excited to be a part of this. And the last thing I'll say is I would just say that I think that the Florida Democratic Party chair should be more concerned about the million Democrats that she's lost since she's been chair than, you know what I'm saying? I think she should be more concerned about that than, using the Florida Democratic Party as an exploratory committee for her run for governor in 2026, which I think is what, if you really want to get into why she was making some of the moves that she's been making, like that's one of the reasons why.
Well, that's interesting because the current chair, I heard rumors that he was planning on running for governor in the same year. So this is an interesting chess game amongst Dems, I guess, that's going on right now.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I do know that the chair is. I do know
you
that.
Know about it. That was the word on the street.
I mean, there was a whole article, Robert, about Will Shevin run.
You know that, Robert.
For governor.
He was looking to run for that governor's chair.
No, I gotta re-up my subscription to High Low News. I must have missed that article.
Yeah,
I'll get on that list.
That part. Talking about that, Janey, how can people register for High Low News? Give them a quick plug real quick.
They could go to HighLowNewsMiami.com and sign up for our email newsletter. And I mean, I'm just kind of taken aback. You kind of threw me off with this whole situation. It just seems kind of messy, and like I like Shevin. He's cool people, so I hope that wasn't taken the wrong way when I like found out who replaced you. But to Dwight's point, that's why people, especially people my age and younger, we don't really care about what's going on. And as a result, like we all are suffering under the Republican rule of the state of Florida. But you have a whole large audience that sees the BS. They see that when they do engage, they elected you and you were removed. And it's like, okay, well, why should I even engage in this when inside of the Democratic Party, they're doing this BS? I don't even want to be a part of this process. I'm going to just go take care of my kids. I'm going to play 2K. I'm going to watch YouTube. Like there's no reason for me to engage in this bullshit because y'all playing with me and y'all playing in my face like Dwight said. So it's really interesting, the politics that go on within the parties. But to me, everybody suffers because of it. And I'm glad we were able to call it out. And I kind of want to dig into this Nikki Free a little bit more because I thought she was cool, but that ain't sound too cool what she did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan. I'll be honest with you. To your point and to Dwight's point, like the hardest thing, I mean, personally, it was very hard for me. Like on a personal level, it hurt very much and all of that. I'm human. That's a pretty normal reaction. But the thing that really bothers me is somebody that really believes that the work that we were doing together can help like our community. You know what I'm saying? Like of the two big parties, like in the system that we have in America, like it would be great if there were more parties, but ultimately right now we got like two parties is the system that we're in. And of those two choices, the one that does more for my community, you know what I'm saying, is the party that I chose to be a part of. And the thing that really bothers me, I mean, the thing that was really tough is to your point, Janey, is that when this happened, it turned off people who had like really, really qualified, strong, high capacity, smart people who have been doing this work for 10, 15 years. These people talking to me about like leaving the party completely, not doing any work with that anymore. And I just know how much it sets us back. It does not make us stronger. It divides us at exactly the time that we can least avoid to be divided. You know what I'm saying? So with all that being said, I'm still a member of the Miami-Dade Democratic Party. I still show up to the meetings. I still do all the work that I can do. And I do that so even without the title, I can set an example for the people, you know what I'm saying, who believe in me and give them a reason to keep showing up and not to disengage. Because I believe that is important. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's important.
So let me get into something juicy, Janey, because this is what I'm trying to figure out. Do you think that in this coming election, the Democrats can actually lose the vote in Miami-Dade County?
I don't believe we'll lose the vote in Miami-Dade County.
Why?
We lost in 2022, but we lost in 2022 because we had, we had Ron DeSantis and we had Charlie Crist running at the top of the ticket. And Ron DeSantis was, his campaign was much stronger. It was much more well-funded. Dwight can tell you in midterm elections, there's a drop-off in turnout also. National organizations did not, national organizations.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. No, hold on. Let me ask you.
Get me out here.
Right.
They're not feeling the candidates, right? A lot of the Dems are feeling unrepresented, especially the black ones in Miami-Dade County. Okay, let's just call it what it is. Then the other part of it is just Miami-Dade County has more of the Latin population that is clearly sided with Trump and the Republicans. So I'm asking, do you really believe that Miami-Dade County Dems can really save Miami-Dade County? I question with everything that we're seeing that's happening right now.
I do believe it. I wouldn't come on here and lie to you. Couple of things. One, the Hispanic demographic. Dwight can tell you this. Dwight can co-sign this, or you can correct me if I'm wrong. Right, Dwight? If you look at the Hispanic demographic down here, once it gets to a certain age, I think 55 and up, that is very, very, very much Republican. But below that age group, we have a much better chance. We have a much better ratio below that age.
If
is that right, Dwight?
They vote, if they're motivated to vote, if they come out.
So I will lift this up as to what the real possibility is, right? There has to be a motivating factor. So using 2020 as an example, the reason Daniela Levine Cava gets elected is because there is a Democratic majority in the county. Mm-hmm. Now, yes. I will argue that is a shrinking majority from 2016 to 2020. So, if you're looking at it from a sliding scale standpoint, PK, I definitely see where you could draw that. But I would also argue two things. One is that you have to look at where black turnout is most likely. The reality is a lot of the black candidates will be on the ballot in the August primary. So you're going to see a lot of Dems show up then around reelecting those folks. And then in terms of black participation, it still becomes a mixed bag going into November. But there is in my opinion, two catalysts for the November ballot. One is women's reproductive rights is on the ballot. You have Amendment 4, which deals with protecting a woman's right to choose. And I really do believe that regardless of party, people who feel a type of way about this backsliding into the Handmaid's Tale isn't something they want to get down with, right? And I think the other thing is going to be marijuana, which is also going to be on the ballot. You know, we have full legalization of recreational marijuana on the November ballot. And a lot of people, I mean, part of, you know, the Just Vote period push is to get people understanding what else is on the ballot besides the president.
Right.
And so when you think about that from a pure demographic standpoint, if I'm an 18 to 34-year-old who either knows somebody or has engaged in marijuana use, has seen people impacted, you know, by the criminal justice or the criminal injustice system around the use of marijuana, right? This is an opportunity for you to course correct. And so, to Robert's point, I think you're going to have a Democratic advantage. I'm not going to say it's overwhelming.
No.
I'm not going to say it's, you know, it's going to blow the hinges off. It may be even smaller than in 2020, but I still think you're going to have a Democratic advantage. But I also want to lift up, a lot of it's going to be helped by non-party affiliated folks too, because those same demographics exist in the county where a lot of people have now become registered MPAs.
Well, here's my fear and here's my concern, and Janey, chime in on this, please, feel free. It's like, when I was sitting there watching the results with Hillary and Trump, everybody swore that Hillary was a shoo-in. They was like, you understand? So my concern is that level of confidence that I guess some Dems have based on whether it's the amendments that they're gonna think is gonna pull them through.
Well, call it arrogance. Call it arrogance, Papa Keith. It's not even confidence. It is arrogance.
That's a problem for me. It's like it's always like it seems to be this like weird comfort level that the Dems have by like, oh yeah, we got this. What are you talking about? You know, and I'm not saying any of you, I'm not putting you under that, right? I'm just saying in a general sense of this confidence, like we got this based on whether it's an amendment or these things, or, you know, it's almost like a gamble. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, the odds are stacked based on these things that we should win versus actually doing key things to make sure that not only do you win, but you bust their ass. You know what I'm saying? If that's because me, if I'm into something, I don't just want to win. I want to bust your ass. I want to bring out record numbers. I want to like be on some Obama shit where it's like I'm setting a bar, you know? And it just seems like I don't feel that type of energy from the Dems. It's always somebody telling me about, yeah, well, you know, with this and that, we should be able to pull through. The fuck?
Well, let me be really, really clear on this. I'm not super confident about, about anything with 2024, right? Just so we're clear. You asked me if I think we'll win. I think I think more than likely we will win by virtue of it being a presidential year and the turnout is just typically higher. All of the things that Dwight mentioned also. But, to Dwight's point, if we win Miami-Dade County, we are not going to win Miami-Dade County by numbers that we should be proud of. And the thing about it is we have to realize about, if you've ever traveled through the state of Florida, right? You know that once you get north of West Palm Beach, it's a completely different state, right? Yeah. And south, and I say that to say that like the way that this is supposed to work is that there are supposed to be so many votes down here for Democrats that it offsets the rest of the state. And when we were winning Florida, that's how we won Florida. You know what I'm saying? So even if we win Miami-Dade, right? I expect that we will, but even if we win Miami-Dade, that is not, that's not the work that we need to do. We still have a ton of work that we need to do. And a lot of it is the work that Just Vote Period is going to be doing. Is reaching out to a community that typically does not show up in the numbers that it needs to. And, explaining to, just kind of getting out there what is actually happening, like what's being done. Because I'm sure Dwight can speak to this as well, but I know I hear what everybody says about President Biden and all of that. But if you look at the policies that he has done, if you look at the things that he has done.
You mean the things they don't talk about, the things they don't brag about, the things they don't shine the light on? Oh, so what am I supposed to dig under some cover and dig up 6 feet of dirt?
That part.
Be like,
100%.
I actually know somebody whose student loan got forgiven. I actually know somebody, but they don't talk about this shit, dog. So it's like,
you got somebody on this call whose student loans got forgiven. My student loans got forgiven. And I'll tell you that I'm not joking. That's like a life-changing thing. Like when that happens,
of course,
it makes real. It makes like a real.
Yeah, but that's to my point. It's like you're telling me about what Biden's doing, but Biden they're not making a whole to do. Every time they want to trash Trump, like fuck Trump. Like focus on what you got going on, what you did, what you've accomplished, and lead with that.
And it's not just student loans. It's not just student loans. It's it's environmental things. Like it's all of these things that we all want done. They have done a tremendous job on a lot of these issues. Now, that's not to say that there are not a lot of things that I personally would like to have seen handled differently in these last 4 years. You know what I'm saying?
That was very diplomatic of you, Robert.
You understand? Yeah, we're on the same page, right? You know what I'm saying? But there are enough things that have been done that make a big difference to people that look like us, to our community, to our age.
But they don't know about it, Robert. These people that I'm going into the clubs with and I'm connecting with, they don't know about it. And if there are people who've gotten they're not speaking to it. I would have a whole campaign. I would have a whole, instead of trying to like have me come meet fucking George Clooney and Julia Roberts and all this goofy shit, I would have a 60-second commercial running with like 10 black, 10 Spanish. Hey, thank you, Biden, for something like.
You're right. You're not wrong.
This is where I acknowledge that the Democrats always bring a clipboard to a knife fight for some reason. And this has been part of the problem for a while. So you're absolutely right, PK. There needs to be more. There should have been more conversation. This is something that has bothered me for the entirety of the current administration, and they want to wait till the 11th hour and be like, "Oh, look what we did. We should really tell somebody." But this is how deep it goes, and this is why it's so frustrating. And I'm not trying to be ageist, because listen, I love my dad's 80 years old. I love that guy. However, when you have an 80-year-old making decisions, they're making 80-year-old decisions. I'll give you an example. To date, I have yet to see Joe Biden on the Breakfast Club as a sitting president, right? That means that you're intentionally missing out. And the thing about it is he's using so much traditional media that he's missing that fact that people aren't watching traditional media at all, especially once you get below the age of 50. You're talking about higher performance of black men on YouTube, higher performance of black women on Instagram, in terms of where they're getting their information from. This is all statistical data that is available to you. Now, I'm not saying that you should jump out here doing TikTok dances either at 80 years old. That no one wants to see that either.
But die doing that.
right. But at the same time, it is like there's a very much a particular generational ego that is attached to the president of the United States. And what do I mean by that is, it's like I don't want to let someone else tell my story in a compelling way. And the only time people are telling your story is in these very, very concentrated bubble-like invite-only events. and that's not getting it done. So to your point, that's when they need to get other people. That's when they need to get information out to high-low news. That's when they need to make sure they're calling on 103.5, because to your point, everybody's missing it. I was in DC, and that was literally the conversation the entire time I was there, was like, y'all aren't telling the world anything that y'all did. Like, do you understand they gave $16 billion to HBCUs, which everyone sits there and talks about Trump giving money to HBCUs. That is a $10 billion increase over what Trump gave to HBCUs. And he gave a significant amount in terms of $6 billion, right?
But he talked about it.
Exactly.
He had them come up.
And that's what I'm saying.
He just the other day, to what you're saying about the Breakfast Club, he just said, I mean, as goofy as it was, I saw it. He had Sleepy Hollow and the guy in the Bronx,
Right.
come up. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
So the aesthetics of that, right, Dwight, as much as we, as I watch DL Hughley and I listen to Dwight and Robert, and they're telling me, oh, it's smoke and mirrors, man, don't fall for that Trump bullshit. He's just trying to get the black folks, and Sexy Red and all of that stuff. But he's doing something,
Right.
versus the others not doing anything at all in that regard.
You're exactly right. And in a vacuum, a lie is better than silence.
I mean,
You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
I feel like, go ahead, Janey.
no, I'm just, and honestly, it's really happening here on this call, and I'm not even gonna try to call y'all out, but I'm gonna call y'all out. So I'm the youngest one on this call, and I've been like fighting to get in. And so I feel like that is also the issue too, because we have a lot of people who are informed about the issues, and they're having conversations among themselves about like why this isn't working and why the Democratic Party is this or this party is that, instead of coming to the demographic that they're not reaching, that they need the numbers from to be able to get the things done. And I think, and I would love to know, Senator Bullard and Robert, your take on, okay, we know the Democratic Party is full of shit. We know the Republican Party is full of shit, but we still live in this system where we have to deal with them. Like, we still need our roads done. We still need lights. Still need infrastructure. We still need jobs. We still need education, healthcare, all of the things. Why is it there not some type of coalition, whether that is cross-racial or even economics or even just black, where we're like, fuck what they got going on. We have to do this because this is how we get change. Okay, so we know maybe we don't like Joe Biden, but we want him to do X, Y, Z. So this is how this works. So internally, NAACP and Greek organizations and SCLC, this is the black agenda, or this is the minority agenda, or this is the woman agenda. And we're going to say, hey, and let's just keep it black because we're all black people. Why has not the leadership, the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, I'm going to call y'all out, why haven't y'all brought us to the table and said, look, we know this how this works. He's a figurehead. But once he gets elected, we're having a meeting at the White House, and we're going to tell Joe Biden what we want because we voted him in, and we're going to demand that he give that. And if he doesn't, we're going to call his ass out on social media, and we're going to use y'all energy to do that, and we're going to use y'all to protest. So we're going to go in and have the meeting and tell them what the agenda is. This is what we need as a community. And we're gonna work the system the way the system is designed to work. So I'm trying to figure out, why hasn't there been some type of collective within our own communities, within our own black leadership, where we're not saying, hey, we know this is what the candidate is, this is who they put forth, this is how we gonna use this motherfucker to get what we need. And if he don't do it, we gonna let him know that he on notice, and we gonna chop his head off if he don't give us what we want. He got 4 years. We should have put him on notice. And you know who do a real good job of that? The gays, the Jews. They do a real good job, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, they do a real good job of saying, we voted you, we want this. And here's the thing, regardless of if we voted for you or not, you're elected to us, so you still represent me. I'm still going to demand what you're supposed to do for me as a representative government. So you're not my president because you're a Republican. You still are my president. I'm still going to demand that you give me what I need. So why hasn't the Black community, why haven't our elders organized in that way? I'm so frustrated that they sit and they talk on these platforms, but nobody's organizing to say, hey, we still need to work this shit so we can get what we need. Because we still poor. We still segregated. We still got the issues.
So yeah, spot on analysis, Janey. The answer to your question is, and I love my people. Like his thing, I love Black people. I don't like all Black people, and the reason I say that is because we don't like to wield power. The economic power of Black people would make us the 13th largest economy in the world. Just American Blacks. We're not even talking about Blacks worldwide. Just American Black people generate enough wealth to be the 13th largest economy in the world, right? But we act like we only rubbing pennies together. We act like we all on stamps together. We act like we ain't got no juice in this thing. And then the other piece is the point you raised, right? Folks who are older than us on this podcast, collectively, are sitting in these rooms, sitting there talking about, well, you know, it's our best option. This is what we got to do this time. Just slow down. This, that, and the third. And so that is a point of frustration. But then the other thing is we're also not making the collective demand, right? We settle for pennies every time. Every time. Every time. You know what I mean? We sit here and take just a little bit. Like, and the reason I bring up the 16 billion is because that was collective pressure, right? That was a demand to say this is what it was. The reason you get a Black woman Supreme Court justice was all of us speaking in the same tone and tenor to demand the thing that we want. You said you made the promise. This is what it's going to be. It was wholly Black women that got Kamala Harris on the ticket. Let's be clear. Black women got together and said, under no circumstances are you going to be able to just get away with just having a woman on the ticket. It has to be a Black woman, right? So when we get in alignment, or as Beyonce would say, get in formation, we definitely know how to make the move happen. The problem is we get picked off so easily. You know, my parents used to always say, you can give a chicken sandwich to somebody and they will sell you out in a heartbeat. Who looks like us. And that is oftentimes what happens is they will find somebody who will be the spokesperson for the people. They'll give them a title and position and they'll get out here and just, you know, you quietly talk about it all the time on High Low News. I'll be over here like, ooh, Janey, say the name, Janey, say the name. And you'd be like, some kind of people I'll be like, and I'm going to be perfectly clear and I'll shut up after this, right? And I'll use Miami as an example. Does anyone know what is the largest Black city south of Atlanta?
Miami Gardens.
Thank you. So you're telling me Atlanta's the mecca for Black people across the board. You're the second largest Black city in the South. ... Right? You know what I'm saying? You are the third largest city in the state of Florida, in Miami-Dade County, right? Which means it makes you in the top 10 of largest cities in the state. The influence that Miami Gardens should wield in Miami-Dade County should be insurmountable. We have 5 Black commissioners out of 13. That means all we need to get is 2 other people to get anything Black people want in Miami-Dade County. We talk about all politics is local, right? So let's call it what it is. We don't like our proximity to power. And we get in and we do all kinds of things and we do stupid stuff. Y'all should have been working with Daniela Levine Cava on day one to get whatever you wanted. If you wanted a metro rail to go from north to south, the fact that you got a South Black commissioner and a North Black commissioner that couldn't get on the same page about both of y'all getting what you need means we got a problem, right? And this is so I'm just calling it what it is, right? And I don't care when folks when folks hear this on Juneteenth, this is the spirit of the ancestors coming up out of me, is that we gotta be damn better about how we make demands, how we access power, and how we move the needle for what are the things that we need. Take Joe Biden out of the equation. You know what I'm saying? Because when we decide to put our foot to the gas, we can move him too. But the fact that we're not speaking loudly enough about all the things he ain't doing, instead of just being happy with our little appointed position on some committee that he appointed us to, and we be quiet because, you know, we get to fly to DC and do a thing. That's part of the problem.
You get your Instagram post on the White House lawn.
Preach.
A whole bunch of people just went to DC. What y'all talking about?
That part.
No, what I'll say too, everything I agree with everything that Dwight said is all spot on. The other thing I would say, you know, to your question, Janey, we always ask black and brown people, we ask young people, we ask them to show up, you know, register to vote, show up to vote, you know, turn out on election day. And then we don't seem to really, then you don't hear anything after election day one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that is really important to me, and one of the things that's really important to the work that, you know, we're doing at Just Vote Period, is that the engagement, like that's the voting is like the cover charge. That's just to get started. But to get the kind of things that you're talking about, Janey, and you're talking about Dwight, and you're talking about Keith, the way to get those things is constant engagement afterwards. When you say that's how other communities are able to get their agenda, you know, enacted, that's how they're able to do that, is that they are showing up at city commission meetings, they are showing up at school board meetings, they are paying attention to these things. It's not just when people want you to vote that you need to turn out and be engaged. We also all need to be engaged year round. We need to hold these elected officials accountable when they are in these positions, and they need to see us, they need to feel us, they need to know that, you know, if I'm not holding up my end of the bargain for these people who I got to vote for me, they're probably going to find another option next time, and we need to be making that clear. So it's not just showing up to vote. That is very important. It's and I will be out there asking people, you know, to register, to register to vote, to enroll in vote by mail, because Republicans worked very hard to throw all of us off of the vote by mail rolls last legislative session, right? Or actually, I think it was 2 legislative sessions ago. We're all off of the vote by mail roll. If you think you have vote by mail, you got to go and make sure you're enrolled in vote by mail again if you're in Dade County, or if you're in Florida, period, right? But more than just voting, it is staying involved and staying engaged and holding these people who we vote for, and holding these people who we help elect, who we give these positions to hold for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, however long, to represent us. It's to hold them accountable to the things that we need. Because if we're not showing up, I guarantee you, I can tell you who's showing up. Some developer who wants to put up a condo that ruins your quality of life in your city. That person is showing up to your elected official's office. You know, so we need to be showing up, and we need to be being engaged also.
And Robert, we need people like you from positions that you sat in to come teach us the game. So going to the younger generation and saying, hey, this is how you do this and this is why you do it. And I have like articles coming up on High Low News. One of the ones that we're working on is, who do you spend money with for your campaign? People are raising millions of dollars locally. So I'm going to do a report that shows, are you spending with Black-owned media? And are you spending with Black-owned marketing firms? Who's within your camp? Because you have a direct impact economically. And so we need to break things down more for the everyday person to say, hey, this is why you should vote locally. Forget the candidate. You tired of your street looking messed up? You want more business grants? You want more education, this, whatever, like teaching them how government works for us and putting it like in everyday terms for them. Like, I think we need more people like you, because you understand the game, to come and break it down for us and say, hey, I know you don't care for them, but this is why you should vote for county commissioner, because you remember you wanted them crackheads from off the corner of your street and you needed more police presence, but you also want the police to stop beating you up. This is how you get this done. Like, we got to break it down to the things of the the least common denominator of how it's affecting us every day. Like when you brought up the example of the lady with her lights, that's a real thing. I don't want it to be dark over here. So let me teach you how you use government, how you use elected officials to get that done. Sorry, PK, I know you had your hand up a long time ago.
No. The funny, no, that was great, and you've been knocking some great points, and I wanted you to have your run too, Janey. You know what I'm saying, for sure. 'Cause I know I was hogging up, most of it in the beginning. But that was great, and if you want to, really, Robert, she was kind of like tasking you to. But listen, maybe with the Just Forward period initiative, that's how we can really activate that for you, Robert. And just real quick, the reason I put my hand up, I had to put it down quickly because literally what I wanted to say, Dwight, shorted up like seconds after. Just basically saying, that certain key people are put in place, goofies, goofballs, just to confuse us and to throw us off our game. I don't look at any different as like TikTok and Instagram, just a distraction. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of distractions, people getting checks to be distractors. They may look like us, but they ain't us, or they ain't for us, and they don't have our better interests at hand. And I'm learning more and more about that daily, you know what I'm saying? And that's now wanting me to also make sure that with, the combination of JustVotePeriod.com and Hilo News, that we are doing what Barack Obama did for Dwight Bullard and what, gosh, I'm having a brain fart. And what I gave two names. I said
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. And what Trayvon Martin did for more of the younger people in terms of getting them, activated and wanting to run for offices. Because I believe right after Trayvon, we had a flux. Young people were running for office, and then now it started to taper off again. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get comfortable. And when I say we, I'm just talking about Black and brown people as a collective. We just get too comfortable, or we just give up so easily, not understanding the true importance, of why we thought about doing it or why we need to be doing something. So, listen, this was amazing.
Yeah.
This was like beyond what I could have imagined for our Juneteenth launch, and obviously I could keep going. Janey, I know you could keep going, but.
And I know we got to wind down, but in the spirit of Juneteenth, I also got to say this, because I don't want it just to be about throwing jabs at folks who are inefficient. I also want to remind people that the institutions that we're talking about weren't built or designed for or by Black people.
That
right?
part.
And so to Janey's point around like teaching the game, F the game. What I'm trying to encourage folks to do is reimagine a world that is for you, by you. And what does that require? That requires you, if you get elected and you melanated, to go into a space not designed by you, thinking and acting differently than trying to be some brown or Black version of a white man, right? Because you just can't go into a space and try to tinker around with an institution that was meant to hurt and harm Black people. You have to go in there pulling out bricks and taking a sledgehammer to the way in which they structure things. And that is the thing that bothers me most about us, is we get inside these spaces and think we can maneuver and manipulate and get some and cajole and get somebody to like me. And then we come back to the community and be like, well, we didn't have the numbers. Or we didn't have, there's only a few of us, so we didn't. Listen, operate differently in the spirit of the ancestors, because we wouldn't be here without them, right? And so we are natural born survivors as a people, but we're also natural born innovators as a people. This country wouldn't be this country without us, and not just in terms of the labor. Talk about the creativity, talk about the passion, I'm talking about everything else. So the idea that you have a blueprint on how to do things differently, like when someone comes up with jazz, when someone comes up with hip hop, when someone comes up with, all the inventions that we created, the air conditioner, all the way up to the super soaker, That's not coming from them thinking that they're a white person. That is from them being innovative as a black person. And that's all I'm saying is for the people on this who, are thinking about just vote, period, make the demand. If you want police to stop killing you, say that. Don't sit there and be like, well, I want the police to respect me in the same way they do white people. No. I need you to stop killing me. And how do I get to that? That is the demand I have for the elected official. So don't give me some new training. Don't talk about giving them $18 million more dollars. Tell them to stop killing me or get rid of them. It's really that simple.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And Robert, I didn't mean to call you out or anything, but I'm like, you have a lot of game. I'm not game, but a lot of knowledge. So I'm like, people who are, younger and thirsty and want change, like you, just from your position, and Dwight, you as well, but Robert, your recent position of being the was it the president of the Miami-Dade County Democratic Party?
Chair, same thing.
The chair, like you having that knowledge, like you can give so much to people that they just don't even understand. Like even our private conversations, you broke down some things for me where I was like, oh really, I could do XYZ. And so that's what I mean by like even what you were saying too, Dwight, like we're saying too the same thing. It's like, yeah, show us how we go in and not play this game. Like, okay, we don't want the police to kill us anymore. We want this. You guys understand how the system works. So what do I need to do as a voter and or elected official to make sure we could get these things done for what we want to see in our community? So I think also too, to bring it back full circle, I think that's the special thing about Just Vote Period, the group of us that are working with Just Vote Period and what we all believe in. If you guys haven't figured it out, I'm a part of Just Vote Period as well, not just Robert and Senator Bullard and PK. We're trying to cut through the bullshit and the minutia of what the party and politics and all this stuff is saying, hey, this is the information that you need. We're bipartisan, just vote, period. Regardless on what you believe in, you need to be participating in, the civic process. And I think that's the special thing about the group of people that is working on Just Vote, period.
Shout out to Jasmine Rogers. Shout out to Chairman Oliver Gilbert as well.
Yes. PK, I mean, like you said, we could keep it going, but just want to let people know, if you are watching us, if you're listening to us, we want to just give everybody the information to know that we are on all platforms. Tell somebody to follow us. If you're watching the screen, I just put the information there for you to follow our podcast on YouTube and listen everywhere where podcasts are available. And while that's on the screen, I do want to give Robert and Senator Bullard a chance to let people know how to connect with them. They probably listening like, who are these guys? Like, I need to know. So let them know, give them the plugs on how they could follow you and connect with you. Robert, I'll kick it off with you.
You can reach me on social media, RJ Dempster, at RJ Dempster, DEMPSTER at Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Dwight?
Oh yeah, same thing. As Janae's pointed out, I'm an old head, so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram exclusively. You will not see me on TikTok ever in life. So
you're not out there doing the dances?
I'm not out there doing the dances. So you can text me, you can call me, you can email me, or you can find me on those two social media platforms. I think I still got an active MySpace page out there. I don't check that though, so don't worry about that.
If you do want to see Dwight dancing though, you might catch him at Old School Saturdays.
Absolutely.
Down in backyard Fort Lauderdale, you might catch him doing a 1-2 step, huh?
That's it. You're gonna catch me doing a 2-step. That's what I got. That's all I got for you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got that body out of yacht. None of that stuff.
Not that body out of yacht. PK, I'll throw it to you. How can people follow you on social media and all the initiatives that you have going on?
Listen, hit me up on my Instagram personally at Papa_Keith. That's PAPA_KEITH. Please follow Just Vote Period on Instagram. Go to the website at justvoteperiod.com. We have some really cool information on there about why it's important for you to vote, as well as some of the amendments that may interest you, like marijuana and the abortion, as well on there. And Janey?
And you guys could follow me at Janey Tate, JANEYTATE, on all social media platforms. And of course, follow High Low News. That is my publication, where it's the only news site in South Florida dedicated to Black and Brown millennials. We're covering everything from politics to entertainment and everything in between. That's HYLONEWS, High Low News. And if you're looking at the screen, it's on the screen. So I have Papa Keith's information, Just Vote Period, High Low News, and my social media handle as well. This has been dope. Wow,
Yes.
I feel like we coming out the gate kicking PK. They gonna be scared. Dwight, especially you said something. Robert, you gave the tea. They gonna be like, "What are they doing over there?" And I love it. Be scared. Be scared.
Yes, be scared. We coming. Again, thank you, gentlemen, both respectfully. The first two Black chairmen for the Democratic Party, Miami-Dade County. Love and proud to call them both my friends. Mr. Robert Dempster, thank you so much. Senator Dwight Bullard, thank you so much. I love you both. My beautiful, talented, fearless, amazing co-host, Janey Tate. You are amazing and awesome. Thank you for all of your true leadership. They always say behind every amazing Black man or man there's a woman, but some cases they're also in front. And you have led the charge for me to be in this space. So I want to salute you and thank you so much. And I always found it weird saying Happy Juneteenth Day, but I don't know how else to say it. I'm just gonna go along with all the other happy this, happy that, happy the other. But of course, our first broadcast is on Juneteenth Day, and we are going to recognize it. I don't know quite how to feel about it still, but we decided to celebrate it with our inaugural show. You know what I mean? So that's how we're doing it.
That part. Thank y'all for watching and listening.
We're back.
Hey, y'all. Did you miss me?
Did you miss me?
Did you miss me?
His name Barnell.
Barnell. All my Martin fans already know what that was.
Yes, they did. And for those who don't know, now you know. You know what I mean? So please excuse us, but all our following That podcast will be full video. So you can look forward to that. But we hope you enjoyed it, right, Janey?
No, definitely. Like you said, because the energy and the conversation was so raw and so real, we were like, we got to figure out a way to save this. And honestly, to me, it's the perfect way to, like you said, jump off our show, because it kind of embodies the spirit and the energy of what we want people to take and receive from our show. So I thought it was a real raw, honest conversation.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what comments you guys are leaving for us. We're gonna be taking all of that in. So y'all make sure y'all let us know what y'all thought about this first episode.
Exactly. And hopefully, if you're not watching us on YouTube, please hop on over to YouTube, follow us at That Part Podcast 305. Leave the comments on our YouTube so we can get to those, because that's what we'll be looking at first. And listen, we appreciate you. We know it's going to be a slow start, but we're going to get rolling, and we have so much more in store for you. So many special guests. We're going to keep it high-low, hyper local. Things that are going to matter to you here in South Florida, which is going to be really important to us. We plan to do this in series. So we're going to start off with an 8-part series, right, Janey? I think that's what we agreed to. And then we're going to take a little break. We're going to keep the first 8-part series very local, because we have some local elections coming up in August. Then we'll take a break right after that. Then we'll come back and attack the presidential election and all those amendments and all those different things, statewide and nationwide, and get some really amazing guests on here to talk to you guys about the things that actually and really matter. Part.
Yes. And I'm gonna put it out there in the atmosphere. Anybody listening, Joe Byron people, Donald Trump people, y'all better come y'all need to come over here. I want that. I want those interviews. I'm gonna just speak it out there. I'm like scaring myself even saying that because what if we mess around and get it? But I mean, I'm gonna take advantage of having this superstar co-host of Papa Keith, who interviewed presidents and celebrities. Like,
Yeah, we've
I
done
think
it.
it's attainable.
Yeah, 88 years ago, Barack and Hillary and Cory Booker, a lot of them were more Dems. But listen, this is bipartisan, although
Yes.
Janae is going to have her strong Dem views. But
A little moderate, little.
but definitely, this is going to be open to everyone, and we want different opinions on things. So we're going to be really cool about that.
No, definitely. And I'm a journalist at the end of the day. So being unbiased and just telling a story and telling the truth of what something is what I'm all about. So, what my personal views are doesn't affect the information that I feel like the community and the people who are listening deserve. So I really hope that and we're going to be actively reaching out to people on both sides of the aisle. I want to have both perspective and I want to have that conversation with all type of people because at the end of the day, to me, real talk, as a Black person, I don't really have a party affiliate loyalty to anybody. I'm
Right.
what aligns with my best interests, like, and whoever is going to be the best person for that job, whether you blue or red, to me that's who gets the vote. To me, that's who gets the support. So that's how I feel.
That part.
Real talk, girls.
That part for real. But this was great. Thank you so much again. Please follow us on YouTube at That Part Podcast 305. See it scrolling at the bottom there. Also follow our Instagram. Same thing at That Part Podcast 305. Become a part of That Part Podcast family. We appreciate you. We look forward to delivering another amazing podcast next Wednesday, 8 o'clock. We live on that YouTube. Check us out. All right. Papa Keith, Janey Tate, High-Low News, Just Vote, period.
Yes. Bye, y'all.